In this video, we're going to go over how I personally applied for the long stay visa in Portugal. If you have to apply for a different type of visa, this video will not be helpful for you, nor will I be helpful for you because I don't know or I haven't gone through the process of all the visa applications. I'm going over with you the one that I did do, so hopefully I can offer some help there. Please note the date of the publishing of this video. So as of last year, 2019, in July of 2020, everything is still standard. The checklist I'm going to give you, the application I'm going to give you is still standard. All of that can change, so definitely do your due diligence. This is just hopefully a guide that will give you some insight that I didn't have when I was trying to do this visa process, so let's go through it. First, you're going to get a checklist, and for some reason this checklist is not provided on the VFS Global website, so I will include all the links below. To get this checklist, I also have a link below to download the same checklist, so you don't have to go writing this down. This was provided to me when I went in for my visa application. So this, as you can see, is for those individuals who are retired, independent living, to establish an independent business, to set up investments, to establish themselves as an independent professional in their field, and to work remotely while receiving U.S. income. That part is me, in addition to investments and stuff, but all my money comes from the U.S. as of now. So this is the application that I applied for. If you need to work in Portugal or you need a company to sponsor you, this is not the application you apply for. If you are going to college or going to school in Portugal, this is not the application that you apply for. This is the application for the things listed above. So if you have a different circumstance, I will not be able to help you. Either way, go to the VFS Global website. Tell them what country you're coming from, and then they'll put you in the right process. Their website is a little bit ambiguous, I'm not gonna lie, so even I struggled, so I'm hoping to kind of help you in those areas. So let's start with the visa application. For some reason, the visa application is not on VFS website, so I had to go in for an appointment, and then they emailed me the application in English. Getting the visa application for Portugal is easy to find with a simple Google search in Portuguese. But since I'm still working on my Portuguese, I don't really know it. I felt more comfortable doing it in English, and the company actually had to give that to me. So the VFS, for anyone who's confused, is the intermediary between Portugal embassy and actually getting your visa. So you don't directly go to the Portuguese embassy in the United States, particularly in Washington, D.C. You go to this company and they handle this. They handle it for France, Netherlands, Portugal, a bunch of different countries. So this is who I went with. You may have an office in your state, depending on what state you're located. I was coming from Washington, D.C., so they literally have one in Washington, D.C., but I'll give you the link so you can check in to see where your local VFS is located in the state in which you reside if you're a U.S. citizen. All right, so your application is going to be the first step. Again, so finding it in English was a challenge. I've included a link below that you can just, the email one that they emailed to me, I'll email that to you. This application can change, so I do want you to check that. But far as July 2020, it's the application. So that's it with the application. Recent photos, just like you do for your visa passport, you can kind of go to any drugstore or various places to get your visa passport photos. Now, for certified copies of your passport, what does that mean? It means that you have to get a colored picture of your passport, colored Xerox of your passport, and get a notary to notarize that that is actually your passport. When your visa is approved, you will have to give the company your passport so they can put the visa in your passport, okay? But until that time comes, because if you don't get approved, they don't need your passport, but they want to know you have a valid one and that you have more than 3 months on said passport. So just find a notary in your local town and get your Xerox copy, color copy of your passport notarized by a notary. That's what the certified passport means. Okay, next is your personal statement. This is basically explaining your reason for settling in Portugal and what you intend to do there, what type of accommodations you have, and maybe what you have in the future. This does not have to be a long statement. Mine basically said I've been traveling to Portugal for a while. I really thought the country was beautiful, and I'm interested in settling there and working for the U.S. and working remotely and potentially looking for a place to retire. That's kind of basically what my letter said. In the personal statement, it's important to include where you're going to reside. If you plan on renting for a little bit or purchasing, you can also kind of include that information, but basically state where you plan on residing, not necessarily the address, but just where you plan on residing while you're there. Okay, confirm accommodations. This is one of the mistakes I made initially when I did my application. I did it for, I think, 3 months, and that was not enough. They want to see that you have accommodations or you've paid for accommodations for 6 months. Now, this can be a little overwhelming, particularly if you're going to a new country. You may not want to commit to a 6-month lease. So you can very well break that up if you want to do like a month in one Airbnb, do a month in another Airbnb. I did that. I stayed in various different Airbnbs in different neighborhoods so I could see what neighborhood I liked. You can do hotels. You can break it up, but they want to see that you have 6 months of accommodations set up there because they want to make sure that you're not going to be a burden, of course, to the country and you have a place to stay. If you are going to stay with a person who lives there, there is a completely different form you have to fill out. I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically a form that tells the embassy that this person that you're staying with is going to be responsible for you while you're in Portugal. Now, the confirmed accommodations may be a little bit intimidating to some in regards to like paying 6 months up front to a country you don't even know if you'll like, if you haven't been there yet. So there's a couple options you can do, in my opinion. I have not tried this, but this is just me just problem solving. If you kind of had the same apprehension that I had, is you can always set these reservations for various hotels for 6 months, and whether it's a hotel in Lisbon, you can do an American chain like Marriott or Hyatt, if there's a Hyatt in Lisbon. I don't know. I know there's a Marriott. And just set those reservations up. Naturally, they're not going to charge you at the moment, but you can have your reservation. And then once you get there, whether you like it or you don't like it, you can still cancel or switch it to an Airbnb or do those type of things if you're worried about the initial capital outlay that you'll have to do and not knowing that you'll like the place. Then I would recommend whatever you book, make sure it has a good refund policy, because you may want to change things up when you get there. You might like a different neighborhood better, want to switch your Airbnb around, and you can do that. They just want to see financially, while you're there for 6 months, that you have a plan. Okay, next we have proof of financial support. So this is where it gets a bit tricky. I often get the questions of how much did you have to show? So they don't have like a number, far as I know. I haven't found anything that said this is the number that you have to show. What I did show, I showed my bank statements, and I show how much I make from investments and various contracts I have. So that's what I showed them. So you would have to show them that as well. If you don't have a job, again, you shouldn't even be applying for this visa, but you have to show them some types of savings and how you are making your money monthly. If you're saying you work remotely, they're going to want to see the income that you make remotely to prove that you can afford to live in Portugal. When you show your financial proof, I think it can exceed 3 months. So make sure you have updated bank statements, saving statements, any pension information that you have, feel free to include that as well. Okay, so your criminal record certificate. Here's where I made a big mistake. So do as I say and not as I do. So this is, if you're a U.S. citizen, this is going to be paperwork that comes from the FBI. And we're going to go to that website, and I'm going to talk to you and walk you through that process. But hear me when I say this. The FBI is going to send you the results in an envelope, obviously, and it's going to be sealed. Do not open the envelope. I have been to this office 2 or 3 times, and a woman didn't tell me to not open it until maybe the 3rd time I went. Anyway, don't open the envelope, because if you do, you have to get, if you see here, you have to get an apostle. What is that? I still kind of, It's an agency that is going to certify that this document did come from the FBI. Depending on your state, your ability to get this apostle, particularly around COVID or a pandemic, is extremely difficult. Okay, so for example, I lived in Washington D.C. That was my home base, and so their office did an apostle for everything but FBI paperwork, and I don't even know where I had to go to get FBI paperwork to get the apostle. In Maryland, you have to go to Annapolis, and so listen, don't do any of that. When the FBI send you your results, do not open it. And if you don't open it and it has the formal seal, you're fine. You don't have to do that. But I got caught up checking my mail, and I had some mail from the IRS, and I had mail from DC government and a whole bunch of other places. So when I saw the envelope that said FBI, and I knew I wasn't supposed to open it, but I wasn't in the right headspace. I was just opening mail. I get it from the FBI, and what do? I look at it. I see that it says FBI, and then I'm like, what does the FBI want with me? And I open the envelope. So don't do what I did. Order this. We're going to go to the website right now as to where you order it. Again, link is in the description as to how you order this. Another thing I want to note, it is no longer called criminal record background. This link that they put in the checklist does not work anymore. It is now called identity history summary, which we'll see in a second. And again, the link to how to get there is in the description below. So let's head over to the website so I can show you how that works. Okay, so here we are at the FBI.gov services, all that other good stuff, identity history summary checks. Again, the link will be in the description. And this is where you go. Now, current processing time, this is after COVID. Current date is July 19th. Okay, so if you submit this electronically, it can be 3 to 5 days upon receipt of the fingerprint card. And if you do it by mail, it can take close to a month. Okay, so I did it electronically, so we're going to go through that process. If you take another process, I have no information for you because I haven't done that. Now, we're going to go to this link, but before we go to this link, to do it electronically, the easiest way is to work with the local U.S. postal locations that are directly tied with the FBI. So in order to find out those locations, you're going to click here. Now, once you click here, you put in your zip code. And this will tell you the various places that will do it. Now, call the location first, because what I have found, 4 out of the 5 post offices, because I've had to do this process 3 times because I messed up. 3 out of the 4 don't actually do it. I don't know how often this is updated, but I struggled finding a post office that actually did it. So I called like 4 of them. They said they did it. They didn't do it. So please call before you go. Okay. So just put in your zip code and it will tell you the various ones that post offices that you can get this done. Okay. So that's the post office. But before you do the post office, you are going to come here and you are going to fill out the various questions that are going to ask you. You're going to complete the application form. The process for the FBI is going to be $18, which you're going to pay with a credit or debit card. So we'll go over that really quickly. Your preferences, you're going to tell them a variety of things. And here's the part that can mess you up. Submitting your fingerprints. Again, I just showed you. I did it at the U.S. Postal Service. This is the way that I would recommend, because once you do it electronically, it immediately goes to the FBI and you get your information relatively quickly. To get started, you're going to put your email address here. They're going to send you a code and you start the application process. Once you finish the FBI process, they're going to reroute you to the USPS.com, the U.S. Postal Service website. Now, you must register with the United States Postal Service in order for you to go there. Do not just go to the post office. You have to complete this process. So the application fee is going to be $50 per person, and you pay that when you get to the post office. You're going to be required to submit some type of identification in addition to your FBI history email that they're going to form they're going to email you, as well as I advise to print out your registration from the post office. When I went the second time to get this done, there was a woman who didn't register with the post office, so naturally she wasn't able to be helped. So don't make that mistake. Register with the post office before you go get your FBI fingerprints. So here, register with the FBI, which we just did that, and then register with the Postal Service. And when you go down, it will ask you to register with the Postal Service so that you can do that. So this is kind of the form that you'll end up seeing. Things can change, so don't be alarmed if this changes in the future. Now that you got or you've ordered your information from the FBI and the U.S. Postal Service, now you need to get permission for the Department of Borders and Customs to obtain a criminal record from Portugal. So that's basically just a statement saying that you give them permission. Now, the company, they gave me that. They just emailed it to me, but you can find it online. I will also put a link or description of where you can get that, but it's literally a statement in Portuguese that you give the Portuguese government permission to do a background criminal check on you. Now, if you're married, you want to bring a copy of your marriage certificate or anything like that in regards to your kids and birth certificates. Again, I'm not married, don't have kids, so I don't do that part. I can't give you much information on that. Now, proof of health insurance. This is probably going to be one of the other most frustrating things because of the companies that were recommended to get a proof of health insurance. When I did the reviews of those companies, they were actually pretty bad. So they said, various people said if something happened, they can barely get in touch with the company and things like that. So I'm going to tell you what I did. You can completely do something else, but this is what I did. I basically went with this company. And I have seen the reviews online that said this company is not good. That is what all the reviews are saying. But in my opinion, this was the price I was paying for my visa. If something happens to me, I don't plan on using this insurance company. I need this certificate that they give me to show that I have health insurance. And that is what I'm using. It's approximately, I think it was approximately $200 and some odd. We can get a quote. Let me just show you the quote. I don't suggest you have to use this company. So here, let's just put in some dates. Okay, see the price. I think I paid $200 and some odd. Okay, so this one's $285. I'm sure that's probably what I paid. I don't expect to use this health insurance. I heard that it was bad. I'm paying basically $300 to help me get a document to help me get my visa. You don't have to do that. I plan on purchasing private insurance from Portugal specifically because the reviews on this have been horrible. But from the reviews of a lot of the companies I've been seeing have been pretty bad. And the thing about health insurance is you don't know how bad it is until you need it, and then you realize what's not covered, because I don't feel like stuff is that transparent. Now, if you attempt to be, as a U.S. citizen, to try to use a U.S. company to give you insurance in Europe, it is going to be just as expensive as insurance is in America. I saw some companies, they wanted close to $400 to $500 a month for insurance in Europe. Insurance in Europe is not as expensive. So please don't do that. You don't have to do what I did. I'm just telling you what I did. You make your own decisions. You are grown. Hopefully. There are going to be some fees for the visa, and you will need to come with 3 different money orders or cashier's checks when you come to the organization. The first one's going to be the Embassy of Portugal. That's going to be $98. Then you need VFS Services, Inc. That's going to be $36.58 for them helping you. And then the VFS Services, from what I was told, is $30 so they can mail your passport back. Remember, your visa has to go into your passport. So when you do get approved for your visa, they're going to ask for your passport so that you can put your visa in there, and then they're going to mail it back to you. Okay, folks, that's basically what I did. I hope this is helpful for you. Again, if you are not applying for the same visa I'm applying for, I have no information for you. I don't know anything about immigration attorneys. I don't know any because I have not gone that route yet. What I'm hoping to give you is something that I wish I had when it was time to talk about the mistakes. My biggest mistakes were the confirmed accommodation. I did it for 3 months. Apparently, I was supposed to do it for 6 months. So I had to fix that. And then the FBI report. I opened the envelope. Apostle was too difficult. I ordered another FBI report, and I'm not opening the envelope. So that's were the two hiccups that I made in regards to my visa process or application. I hope this is helpful for you. And again, so until next time.